If you solve it at the root, then you don't have to play whack-a-mole with, oh, my study schedule, maybe that needs to change. Oh, maybe I need to leave my phone in the car. Oh, maybe I need to cut off Facebook. Or maybe I need to tell my friends that I'm not available. Or maybe I need to, go to the root. When you solve it at that level, all those other things, they just get fixed. I am talking to you about why you don't feel like studying. Every minute that you spend not wanting to study is a minute of efficient studying and possibly points that you could have gained that are being left on the table. We need to fix this today. We cannot afford to lose this precious study time. So if you are that person who you know you should be studying and yet you are not, and you procrastinate or you go off in your mind on some tangent instead of being present with your studies, or you do get into your studies, but like half an hour in, 1 hour in, all of a sudden you're like so exhausted, but all you were doing was studying, right? Then you need to listen in on this one viewing, right? We're going to tell you not only just how to know if you have the certain symptoms that are keeping you from studying, what to do about it, but we're also going to help you have the tools to use that I use with my clients every day for you to solve it for yourself at home. Now's the time to find out what's happening and fix it so that you can get back in the game. Honestly, bar takers, we cannot afford to lose any more time as we procrastinate or drag ourselves to study, or even if you go sit down at your desk to study but you don't really feel 100% into it, that is impacting your efficiency as well, is it not? Don't you do so much better with your tasks when you're like all into it and in the zone versus when you have to drag yourself there and you're with every single page that you read and with every single question that you answer? That's not going to give you the best results, right? So let's dive into what's going on and how to fix it, shall we? Are we ready? Okay. Thing number one, right, that we're looking out for are distractions. Now, I know people are like, oh, I already know, don't have distractions, turn off your phone, get off of Facebook, all that stuff. You will be surprised how many people are doing that for show, and they are still getting distracted by family members and other situations that they say are not movable, right? No, I can't put a boundary around that. They need me. They're only 5 years old. I get it. I totally get it, right? But here's the thing. I've coached client after client after client who was adamant that those kids, there's nothing I can do about it. I have to stop what I'm doing and go attend to them and then come back. Or the ailing parent, right? Well, nobody else will help with her. Nobody else wants to move in and take care of her. She lives with me because I'm the only one who hasn't built a family and moved on with her life yet, right? Tons of clients come to me with that. And yes, there are those of you who are single with no children and yet your parents and siblings are depending on you for their everyday life. And we tell them the same thing every single time. Is it real or is it just a distraction, right? Here's how you know. Are you the person who needs to be in the mix? If you pulled yourself out of the mix, would they figure it all out themselves? And even if you think, they might, but it would be hard. Well, come on. You had to figure some things out in your life that was hard. Heck, you're doing something hard right now. Why can't they do something hard? Can you just sit and honestly say to yourself, they absolutely need me to stop what I'm doing and attend to them, or they can figure it out themselves? If we're talking about the little people that run underfoot, you have to ask yourself a good hard question. Are there people in my life that have offered to take my children for me and I've refused for this reason or another? When I talk to mothers, the reason why they would have refused is because they feel like they would be a bad mother to send their kids off to grandparents or whomever for a whole summer while they study for the bar. They would feel like a bad mother. They would have mom guilt. I'm not saying you're not going to have mom guilt. My child was with my parents while I studied for the bar. I had mom guilt, right? I'm not saying you're not going to have mom guilt. But what I'm saying is your guilt worth you not passing the bar exam? Or shall we just get over the guilt already, right? Same thing goes with when you're used to helping family and even friends, right? When you say, I can't show up, or you simply don't pick up the phone, and they have to figure it out themselves, what are you afraid will happen? The situation themselves will work themselves out. What happened if you died tomorrow? Everybody would figure themselves out, would they not? Right. But it's your feelings about the situation that get in the way, and we have tools for that. Address the feelings, and you will be able to then be free to make the decision that is good for you, your goals, your bar study, and really for your family and friends as well. Because once you get to where you're going, now you do have the time and the money to help them out. So we are talking about real stuff, ladies and gentlemen, the real stuff that's getting in the way of you studying efficiently and passing the bar exam. And this is one of them. When we think that the distractions are real. Okay, so if you think honestly they are so real, they're immovable, there's no way I can get around it, or you know, okay, yeah, I know in my mind that I should be able to say no, set it aside, turn off my phone, come back another day, send my kids with their grandma. I know I should be able to. We don't use should, it's a shaming word. But I can't. Whenever I try to, it doesn't work. If that's you, then you have to deal with the emotional side of it. You absolutely must go to what's happening on the inside that keeps me from being able to follow through with what I know I should do. Once we handle that piece, then what you'll find is that you have more energy emotionally for the bar. Some people were able to kind of cut everybody else off, but then they feel guilty and lonely, and that doesn't help you with your bar study either, my friend. Right? So have you done what you were supposed to do for bar study and now you feel guilty and lonely? That's another issue that has to be addressed. These are all feelings issues. So we must address the feelings that are underneath the surface. Okay, so I've told you what, right? Family distractions, friend distractions that you think are real. I told you why. It's the feelings underneath the surface, right? That keep you in a pattern that's not helpful for your bar studies, okay? And how to fix that, we're going to touch on that. Stay until the end. The second thing we got to look at is why the distraction is tempting. You know, one of the reasons is your feelings of guilt, and there's feelings of rejection, that, you know, fear of rejection. There's other things there as well. But another very insidious, sneaky, I don't want to say evil, but very, very sneaky reason why these distractions are tempting, whatever the distractions may be. It could be your laundry, for heaven's sakes. Those distractions are tempting because of the ego. Ego is the self-protective mechanism inside of all of us. We all have it. It is the thing that is responsible for helping us learn, oop, don't do that. Bad things happen when you do that, right? You see somebody getting laughed at school because they were crying over something small, and you know, first graders, you're not supposed to cry, wah, wah, wah. And you're a first grader and you go, oh my goodness, I don't want anybody making fun of me. I'm not going to cry anymore. Ego is the one that kind of like learns all these like rules about how to stay cool, how to stay in the club, how to not get rejected, how to not feel hurt. And even if your ego is trained with something that you deem negative, there was a positive reason for why it learned that, right? The ego might be trained to be, you know, extremely introverted and almost antisocial. And you think, well, that's a bad thing. Why would the ego like adopt that kind of training? But you trace back to when you first adopted it and find out that being almost antisocial was preferable to the pain that ego interpreted occurred every time you were social. And so it adopts something to protect you from negative feelings. Well, this is the same thing that's happening with the bar exam. If the bar exam was a negative experience for you in the past, or if test taking was a negative experience for you in the past, your ego is trained to protect you from feeling bad. Okay, even if it means choosing the lesser of two evils. You may feel bad about failing, but you would feel worse about putting your all into it, taking that test, and all the stress that comes with that. So I have some people who would rather sign up for the thing and then cancel last minute and not go, or sign up for the thing and then not study, and so the day before they're like, well, I didn't study, so if I fail, whatever. And then they go in and then they fail. And they would rather do that than to be studious and to go through what for them is an emotionally harrowing experience of properly preparing for the bar exam. Now, properly preparing for the bar exam does not have to be emotionally harrowing. If you're depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling, you know, side effects of low self-esteem and low self-confidence, if you're not sleeping well at night, these are emotionally based. This is not the bar exam. This is your feelings about the bar exam, and those need to be addressed. But the ego, if you don't know how to address them and you haven't been able to give the ego that comfort of knowing that we've got this handled, the ego will, instead of letting you go through that, it will make you procrastinate with the TV, with your family drama, with whatever. I remember one particular young lady, she was studying, she was in my private program, and this is not the first time she was studying. She went through so much with this bar exam. But this was the time things were going to be different, because now she had that one-on-one help. She was in Beat the Bar, so she and I were together. And she got on the phone one time, and there was just a big blow up, you know, with some guy somewhere, and it was just so dramatic. And I recognized it as, aha, ego's doing its thing. Ego is doing its thing. Because right now she is about to face, if I've gone this far and I still don't pass, what does that say about me? Ego doesn't want to face that. So instead, ego will let you be distracted by all kinds of things. So I helped her to kind of recognize how, even though it was tempting to get into the details of this issue and try to solve things and try to smooth the pathways and try to this and try to that, I helped her to see beyond that, to realize how this is just one big, huge distraction, right? That your ego is begging you to get on that roller coaster ride with, so that you can not pay attention to your bar studies, and so you have your insurance plan if you fail, why you feel better. I said it's time for you to decide that you're going to go all out with the bar exam, whether you fail or not, and this is just a distraction, and this can be taken care of in 3 months if it's still around. And so after we coached around it, because there's some feelings, there's a lot of feelings involved in this kind of thing, but after we coached around it and did some sitting with the feelings and things like that, things that I'll give you the tools on how to do it later, she was able to, like, okay, move above it, not fix it, not solve it, not send more text messages or anything like that, just move above it and go back to paying attention to what was important. And nothing else derailed her after that. And she passed, all right? Okay, so what I'm telling you is that your ego has a reason why it's protecting you from this whole bar exam process. We don't know what that reason is. Maybe if you want to find out what that reason is, we can get on a call and we can start talking about it. But what I want to tell you is that that reason is not important. What is important is that you move past it into a feeling of safety and help the ego to feel safe around it, so that you can go ahead and do what you need to do for the bar exam. Right? And we give you the tools to be able to do that in the comfort of your own home. So listen up till the end, and I'm going to tell you what to use to be able to take care of that at home, right? But you want to get past that feeling of danger and into a feeling of safety, so the ego will allow you to go ahead and do your studying, okay? It's the same thing if you are not sure about your future. Ego likes sameness. Ego wants things to stay the same, because ego knows what the risks here are, what the benefits here are, what to look out for. So the ego prefers what is known. If you are looking at passing the bar exam and moving into a life that's completely unknown, that is ringing alarm bells for the ego. It's waving red flags. And that has to be taken care of so the ego can feel safe, so that you can move on and do what you need to do for yourself, as in passing the bar exam. We have a tool for that, okay? All right, so stay until the end so I can let you know which exact tool you want to go use, so that you can move past that problem and be at peace with taking your bar exam. Then the ego will no longer have a reason to distract you and make you feel like there's something else better to go do, or even to depress you while you're trying to pass your bar exam. Third and most impactful tip. How many of you go through bar study? You're studying, let's say today you decided, I'm going to come home from work, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to study for just 2 hours, because we don't do overwhelm. We pass the bar with ease and grace. There is a way to pass your bar exam with studying 2 hours per night after work, instead of sitting there thinking you have to do 6 hours like everybody else who doesn't have to work. But that being set aside, how many of you go and you study, sit down to study, and you're not even a quarter of the way through? Maybe you're halfway through, and you just feel exhausted, like you've just been running a marathon, completely exhausted. Is this you? Have you felt that before? If you've had that experience, let me know. Yep, I've had that before. That has happened before. Tell me in the comments that this is you, that this has happened before. If this is you, let me tell you what's happening. Maybe you can imagine a person is bracing their abs for punches. They know they're about to get punched, so they brace their abs to take the punches. And they're taking the punches and they're fine. But minutes go by and now they're getting tired, right? From bracing the abs and from dealing with the punches. And now imagine they're bracing their abs and they're dealing with the punches and they're trying to get their work done at the same time. When we sometimes put off studying, don't want to get into studying, all these other feelings that go along with it, we procrastinate on studying. It is often the case that there are a barrage of negative voices going on in your mind. And these negative voices are coming at you like punches. And what you're doing is you're mentally bracing yourself against them so that you can white knuckle your way through studying for the bar. And so you're sitting down, these punches are coming all while you're studying, and you're like kind of bracing yourself while you're trying to study at the same time. Does that situation kind of ring true for anybody? So in my mentoring circle, when I'm coaching with clients, I find that that's often what's happening when they're sitting out in a study. Why would you want to go study if that's what you have to look forward to? So I teach them how to detect these voices. Catching them is step one though. So I teach them how to detect these voices, and then we get down to what the root of it is. Because remember, we just talked about it's the feelings, it's the emotions, it's your thought life. So we catch what these voices are actually saying, what they're really about. We go down to the root of it, and then we dissolve it at the root, at the feelings level. Right, you got to pull up those feelings, you got to deal with them, you got to face them. If you think that you can get through this thing without dealing with the feelings, you know, hey, if you do, great. But what I found is most times when people are going around and around the bar exam cycle, they have to stop doing what they've always been doing and go deeper. And this is at the feelings level. Now, some people, they kind of get that, and so they pull out their positive affirmations, and, you know, they do their vision board, but then the vision board doesn't come true on time, and they get devastated. Or the positive affirmations, well, I did it every night, and it didn't work. And I'm going to tell you why. Those tools are kind of cherries on top of the cake, but you got to bake the cake first. And the cake has not been baked. To do the meat of it, you have to go down to the root, the emotions, and sit with them and resolve them there. Now with that infection cleaned out, you can now grow healthy skin cells, put a bandage on top, and know that everything is going to heal underneath. Your positive affirmations and vision boards and such are really more like the band-aids. You can't put a band-aid on top of a festering wound and think everything's going to be okay. So the tools that I use inside the mentoring circle, which I'm going to tell you about how you can get a hold of, those tools help our clients to get down to the rottedness underneath the surface and to get that all cleaned out and cleared out so that they can now fill it in with the good stuff. And then the positive affirmations and the vision board and the motivational YouTube videos, those are all just like cherries on top. So how about a way to get down to the root of what's going on, resolve it, and move it aside? How about if you could wake up in the morning and know deep down in your bones that you're going to approach your study area, your desk, your chair, wherever you go to study. You're going to approach it with a smile on your face to sit down and really get into your studies for that day. How would it feel to know that you look forward to studying? How would that feel? What kind of difference would that make for your study life if you actually looked forward to studying? See, what happens with people when they are working with me is we work through enough of that emotional baggage to where they actually look forward to studying, to where it's actually a growth experience, to where they look at it and say, well, thank you to the bar exam, to the study process for coming along. So many things that have unfolded in my life because of you, bar exam. We get past the dread of studying by going deep inside. And for that, I offer our study prep visualization that allows you to put yourself in the mind of a successful bar studier. And we go to the deepest level of the mind in these visualizations, because your mind doesn't know the difference between you doing it in real life and you doing it as a practice in your mind. That's what Olympic athletes and world-class pianists and people like that, they know these things and they practice in their mind, because it is just as beneficial as physically practicing. If you are the person who you know that you have emotional strongholds keeping you from saying no to family and friends, keeping you from shipping the kids off with the grandmother, keeping you from doing what you know you need to do and enforcing it, then I invite you to use the visualization inside our Conqueror's Mindset bundle. It's called the Peace Inducer, because that will allow you to sit with the feelings and come to peace with them at the end of it all. If you recognize yourself as that person who your ego is probably keeping you from an uncertain future. You want to be an attorney, but your ego doesn't know what it looks like over there and isn't really quite okay with letting you wander into the unknown. I encourage you to take care of that with our Life Architect worksheet and meditation, all inside the Conqueror's Mindset bundle. You see, the Conqueror's Mindset bundle is this bundle of different tools, all of which I use actively with my mentoring circle clients, where you can go in and use those tools for yourself on your own time at home, right? It's a self-study thing, and move yourself through the deep underlying causes of your procrastination or your exhaustion or other issues that are affecting your bar prep. So that's the Conqueror's Mindset bundle. I pulled it out of the mentoring circle and made it available to the public so that you can work yourself through some of these things that come up. Right. I even included a video so that you can know what issues and symptoms match up with which resources inside the bundle. So if you want to know how to get a hold of the bundle, and that way you don't have to stay stuck in procrastination, stuck in I don't want to go study mode, stuck in self-sabotage, all keeping you from passing the bar. You can get past these emotional strongholds. You can resolve these barriers. You can take care of the depth of the problem so that the symptoms go away by themselves, almost like magic, which is what is reported to me. Wow, I didn't even do anything. Those things just went away because you took care of the underlying issues. You can resolve those in the privacy and comfort of your own home and move on to pass the bar exam.